Ever feel like you're just skimming the surface? Like there's so much more to know about something, but you just don't have the time to dig deep?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we try to do here.
We do the digging for you. A real deep dive into important topics, pulling out the insights that, actually stick.
It's about getting straight to the core, finding those crucial bits you can actually use in your own life, your own work.
And today we're jumping into a really famous one, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the title, okay, it screams money, right? And sure, that's in there.
It definitely is.
But the principles Hill lays out, they're much broader. They're really a kind of roadmap for achieving things, success in all sorts of ways.
That's the key takeaway, I think. It's a mindset, really.
Yeah.
A set of strategies. And we've looked at, bits from the book itself, summaries, analyses, even articles on how these ideas pop up in modern business.
Right.
They're pretty fundamental to reaching your potential, whatever that means for you personally.
So our mission today, simple. Give you the essentials, the actionable stuff from all these sources. Think of it as your shortcut to the core concepts.
Okay, let's get started.
All right. So first up, the power of your thoughts and having a really, really clear purpose. Definiteness of purpose, Hill calls it.
Yeah, and this is where Hill kicks things off with this idea that, well, thoughts are things. It sounds a bit metaphysical, maybe.
A little bit, yeah.
But if you unpack it, it's about how the thoughts that dominate your mind, especially when they're linked to a very specific goal and a real burning desire, they actually start shaping your actions and then eventually your reality.
Our sources really hammer this home with the story of Edwin Barnes. You remember that one?
Well, yeah, Edison's story.
Exactly. He wasn't some big shot. He just shows up basically broke, tells Edison he wants to be his business partner.
Right, and Edison apparently thought he was just another, drifter at first.
But Barnes had this absolute certainty, this unwavering desire. And Edison saw something in that intensity. It's a great example of just how powerful a clear mental picture combined with that drive can be.
And what's really interesting is the emphasis on having one single, clearly defined purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's like setting a destination in your GPS, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need that specific endpoint, otherwise you just drift. Our sources really emphasize this. A clear purpose helps you filter out distractions.
Yeah.
Helps you say no to things that don't align.
Yeah, it keeps you on track. And that burning desire he talks about, it's not just wanting something casually.
No, it's way beyond that.
It's the fuel. It's what pushes you through when things get tough, when you hit those walls. We even read about Marshall Field, right? After the Great Chicago Fire completely destroyed his store.
Yeah, amazing story.
Instead of giving up, he was just fiercely determined to rebuild, bigger and better. That level of passion, that's the burning desire.
And if you bring that into, say, the business world today, think about companies. The ones that really succeed, especially through tough times, often have a super clear mission. It's not just about setting, smart goals, though that's part of it.
Right.
It's about actually building that deep commitment, that burning desire through the whole organization, from the top down.
Okay, so powerful thoughts, laser focus on a purpose, fueled by desire. Got it. What's next? This leads us to the mastermind principle. Sounds kind of grand, doesn't it?
It does sound a bit dramatic, but the idea itself is actually very practical. A mastermind group is basically just a team. It's getting together with other people with different skills and viewpoints who are all working towards similar goals or supporting each other's goals.
So it's about synergy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Synergy. The idea is that the combined brain power, the energy, the accountability, it's much greater than what any one person could manage alone.
The source sees some good historical examples, too, like Henry Ford.
Right. The story goes someone tried to call him ignorant because he didn't know some general knowledge fact.
Yeah.
And Ford basically said, why should I clutter my brain with that?
Yeah.
I've got people on my team who know that stuff. His strength wasn't knowing everything. It was building that team.
Mm-hmm. Andrew Carnegie, too, in the steel industry. Same idea. Surround yourself with experts.
And the real value there, I think, is realizing you don't have to be the expert in everything. That's exhausting.
Totally.
The mastermind lets you tap into way more knowledge, get different perspectives when you're stuck, bounce ideas around, keep each other on track. Some sources even gave, practical steps for setting one up.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Like list people whose knowledge complements yours. Think about what you bring to the table for them. It has to be mutual, right?
Right. Reciprocal.
And then meet regularly. Keep it consistent.
Makes sense. And businesses use this all the time, maybe without calling it a mastermind. Strategic alliances, cross-functional teams.
Absolutely. It's about deliberately creating those spaces where different talents can mix and create something new. By partnering up, Companies access things, knowledge, resources they wouldn't have otherwise. It fuels innovation.
Okay, so thought, purpose, mastermind. Now we shift inward a bit more to faith and belief.
Yeah, and this is, it's really crucial and maybe sometimes a bit fuzzy for people. Hill's point is that faith isn't just luck. It's a state of mind you can actually cultivate. And you do that by consistently feeding positive ideas, positive instructions to your subconscious mind. This ties into autosuggestion, which we'll get to.
Our sources really drove this home. They explained that when you take a thought and you add strong emotion to it, plus that deep belief, that faith, that's when things start to shift in the real world.
Exactly. And it works both ways, which is kind of scary.
How so?
Well, if you're constantly focused on failure, on what could go wrong, you're essentially programming your subconscious for that. You're feeding it doubt.
You attract what you focus on, kind of thing.
Sort of. It's more about your internal state influencing your actions and perceptions. If you constantly doubt yourself, you're less likely to take risks, less likely to see opportunities. But if you cultivate faith, a belief in success, our sources call it developing success consciousness. Your mind is literally tuned toward seeing possibilities, not just problems.
And businesses can tap into this too, right? Building a really strong company culture where people genuinely believe in the mission.
Definitely. Think about a company focused on amazing customer service. If that belief is embedded in the culture, employees act on it. Or encouraging visualization, like a sales team really picturing hitting their targets, feeling that success. And things like ongoing training, it builds skills, sure, but it also builds an employee's belief in themselves and in the company investing in them. Google's 20% time was mentioned as fostering belief in employees' own innovative ideas.
Okay, so faith is built by consistent positive input. How do we manage that input? Which brings us right to autosuggestion and the subconscious mind.
Right. Autosuggestion.
Yeah.
It sounds technical, but our sources basically explain it as the communication channel between your conscious mind, the part you're aware of, and your subconscious. A huge, deep reservoir of thoughts, habits, beliefs, most of which operates below the surface.
And the key thing seems to be that the subconscious, well, it just accepts stuff, right? It doesn't really filter or argue.
Pretty much. It's very receptive. That's why repeating affirmations, especially with real feeling behind them, can actually work over time. It's like you're reprogramming the underlying operating system. You keep planting that seed of belief. Eventually, it takes root.
Some sources even mention this idea a bit more out there, maybe, that the brain can send and receive thought vibrations.
Yeah, Hill definitely leaned into that. The science might still be debated there, but the underlying message is powerful.
Hello.
Be really mindful of your own thoughts and the kind of mental atmosphere you're creating for yourself.
So practically speaking, what does that look like? The sources mention Hill's exercise.
Yes, the self-confidence formula.
Yeah. Create a really clear picture of the person you want to be, the goals you want to achieve, and then basically demand self-confidence from yourself daily. Write it down, read it aloud.
It's about consciously directing your thoughts, using your conscious mind to influence that deeper subconscious level. You feed it positivity, empowerment, and gradually those underlying beliefs can shift, which then changes your actions and results.
Okay, so we're building this powerful internal state, but, thoughts and beliefs alone don't pay the bills, right? You need action.
Exactly. Which brings us to organized planning and decisive action.
This seems pretty straightforward, but crucial.
Absolutely. Knowledge is great, but as our sources kept saying, it's only potential power. If it just sits in your head without a plan, it doesn't do much. You need organized steps, a clear roadmap from A to B.
And the sources also warned about the twin evils, or twin demons, indecision and procrastination.
Yes. We all know those two, don't we?
Oh, yeah. That feeling of getting stuck, overthinking everything, or just putting things off, constantly finding other urgent things to do.
It's vital to conquer them. Procrastination can be sneaky, too. It can look like being busy, like doing more research, more prep. Anything but the main task. Productive procrastination, they called it.
Recognizing those patterns and just forcing yourself to act seems key.
And not just any action, but decisive action. Making choices. Our sources even suggested that the tougher the decision feels, sometimes, the bigger the potential upside. It's about pushing past hesitation. And in business, obviously, this is huge. It links back to the SMART goals idea. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. You need that clear plan. But then you need the discipline to actually execute it, to act decisively and promptly.
Okay, so we've got the plan, we're taking action. But what happens when things inevitably go wrong, when you hit a roadblock?
Yes. Persistence,
Mm.
determination. This might be one of the biggest differentiators.
You think so?
I do. Our sources were really clear.
Mm.
Setbacks, failures, they're going to happen. It's almost guaranteed on any significant journey. The people who ultimately succeed are the ones who just keep going. They learn from the failure, they adjust, but they don't quit. Persistence isn't just being stubborn, though. It's a state of mind you cultivate.
And it was interesting how the sources linked a lack of persistence to the fear of criticism.
Yeah, that's a big one. Worrying about what other people will think or say if you fail.
Yeah.
It stops so many people dead in their tracks. They give up way too early.
So persistence needs that inner conviction, focusing on your own goal, not the external noise.
Exactly. You need blinders sometimes. The sources even laid out like 4 steps to develop persistence.
Yeah.
Let's see. Number 1, a definite purpose fueled by that burning desire we talked about. 2, a clear written down plan. 3, actively shielding your mind from negative influences, doubt, fear, criticism. And 4, having that friendly alliance, your mastermind group, for support and accountability.
That makes sense. And for businesses, how do they build persistence?
Well, setting challenging but realistic goals is part of it. Investing in training so employees feel equipped to handle challenges, building resilience, and crucially, framing setbacks not as the end of the world, but as learning opportunities, data points for improvement.
That mindset shift again, viewing challenges as growth opportunities.
Yes, that's what allows companies and individuals to adapt and ultimately thrive long term.
Okay, so drive, mindset, planning, persistence. But you also need the actual skills and know-how, right?
Absolutely. Which leads us to specialized knowledge.
Can't just rely on willpower alone.
Nope. Our sources really stress this. Passion is vital, but you need to combine it with a deep understanding of your field. Getting that specialized knowledge gives you a serious competitive advantage. It means committing to constantly learning, staying updated, lifelong learning, basically.
And it's not just about hoarding facts in your head, is it? The sources mention knowing where to find information is just as important, like the Ford example again.
Exactly. He didn't need to be the engineer, the accountant, the marketer. He needed to know how to access that expertise through his team, through his network. Organize the knowledge.
And how do businesses do this?
Investing in their people is huge. Formal training programs, like the ones IBM is known for, but also fostering a culture where learning is just part of the job, like Google or Microsoft supporting employees going back to school or exploring new areas. It's about building that capacity to learn and adapt.
So you're always learning, gathering knowledge. But where do the breakthrough ideas come from, the real innovation? That seems to be where imagination comes in.
Yes. This is where it gets really creative. Our sources call imagination the workshop of the mind. It's where you forge new plans, new solutions. And they differentiate between 2 types. There's synthetic imagination, which is mostly rearranging existing ideas and concepts in new ways, combining things that are already known. And then there's creative imagination. This is more about flashes of insight, hunches, inspiration, ideas that seem to come out of nowhere, often linked to the subconscious mind, tapping into something deeper.
That trust your gut feeling the sources talked about.
Exactly. Paying attention to those intuitive hits, those hunches, exploring ideas even if they seem a bit weird at first, that's often where real breakthroughs happen. Hill even had an exercise about cultivating hunches.
And this creative force, this imagination, our sources link it strongly to our emotions, don't they? Including that potentially controversial topic Hill discussed.
Ah, yes. The role of emotions, including what he called sex energy.
Right. Let's tread carefully here.
We should. But the core idea, separate from maybe the slightly dated or potentially problematic framing for some, is that emotions are incredibly powerful fuel. They give energy to our thoughts. They drive us to action. And this specific idea of sex energy transmutation, it's about taking that really intense, powerful energy associated with sexual desire, arguably one of the strongest human drives, and consciously redirecting it, channeling it away from purely physical expression towards creative work, achieving ambitious goals.
So like harnessing a powerful force for a different purpose.
That's the concept.
Yeah.
Using that intensity, that passion, that drive, which Hill believed was common in geniuses and highly successful people, and focusing it on your work, your art, your mission. Our sources also briefly noted the power of love and romance as motivators. He did caution against overindulgence, though, suggesting it dissipates the energy.
It's definitely a unique perspective. It highlights how potent our emotional energy can be and the need to manage it, which actually leads us nicely to the final big piece, dealing with negative emotions, the six ghosts of fear, and building a positive mental attitude.
Right. This is about tackling the internal saboteurs. Our sources list Hill's 6 basic fears: the fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death.
Pretty comprehensive list of human anxieties.
They really are.
Yeah.
And his point is that these fears, if you let them run rampant in your mind, can absolutely paralyze you. They stop you from taking risks, from pursuing goals, from living fully.
So the first step is just recognizing them, becoming aware of how they might be influencing you.
Exactly. Awareness is key. And then actively working to build, as the sources put it, a kind of mental wall of immunity against negativity, both internal and external.
Which requires cultivating a positive mental attitude, PMA.
Yes, it's not about pretending problems don't exist, but about consciously choosing your response. Our sources stress things like practicing gratitude, actively challenging negative self-talk, that critical inner voice, and deliberately surrounding yourself with positive, supportive people and influences. It's about managing your internal environment to foster resilience and optimism, not letting fear and doubt take over.
Wow, okay. We have covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. Maybe we should quickly recap the main threads, the interconnected ideas we pulled from the sources.
Good idea. So it really starts with the power of your own thoughts, understanding that they have creative potential, especially when focused by a definite purpose.
Right, and that clear goal is your North Star.
Then, amplifying your efforts through the mastermind principle, collaboration and synergy. Underpinning that is building unwavering faith and belief, using autosuggestion to communicate with your subconscious.
Turning belief into reality requires organized planning and decisive action, taking concrete steps.
And sticking with it through thick and thin requires persistence, fueled by that initial desire and shielded from fear, especially the fear of criticism.
Can't forget the need for specialized knowledge, the tools and expertise for your chosen path.
Which you then shape and innovate upon using your imagination, both synthetic and creative, maybe even tapping into intuition or hunches.
All of this is supercharged by harnessing the power of your emotions, channeling that energy productively.
And overarching everything is the vital importance of conquering those basic fears and consciously cultivating a positive mental attitude.
It's quite a comprehensive system when you lay it all out, and it's worth saying again, isn't it? While Think and Grow Rich obviously has that wealth focus in the title.
Yeah, the title is what it is.
These principles, as all our sources showed, really offer a framework for success and personal growth in almost any area you care about.
Absolutely. The psychology, the strategies, they're universal. Building a business, learning a skill, improving relationships, overcoming a personal challenge, the core ideas apply.
So as you, our listener, are thinking about all this, maybe reflect, how could these principles map onto your own goals right now, the things you're working on, the hurdles you're facing?
Yeah, that leads to a really good question to leave you with. Which one of these principles, just one, resonates most strongly with you today? Which one feels most relevant to where you are right now? And then, maybe more importantly, what's one small thing, just one tiny action you could take today to start putting that principle into practice?
That's a fantastic prompt. Don't try to tackle everything at once. Just pick one. Start small. Be intentional. See what happens. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.